Hi guys, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm on to begin my design team project for Whichcraft Do You Do for January. So I'm going to try mixed media. So we'll see how that ends. Yeah, I'll pre-apologise to the ladies at Whichcraft Do You Do now because I'll probably massacre their digitals in this one, that's for sure. But I get ideas in my head and I want to give them a go, so I figure I might bring you along. Hopefully you'll learn what not to do as I do. I will get started. I'll do a voiceover and everything for this one, simply because I have to do a bit and then go and let it dry and then go find bits to put on and everything. It's just a lot easier to switch some music on or something and get the bits done. So I have my gesso here and I've got some curtain lace. Now it's quite stiff curtain lace, but I thought I'd add some gesso and it will stiffen it up a bit more, but also it will give it some texture so that I can colour it. Don't ask me if it helped, but I think it did. So I'm just dabbing it over with my paintbrush and then putting it aside to dry. Thought I'd do this first because it will take a bit to dry and then I can get on with some other bits and pieces. So now it's dry, I have some of my Distress Oxide sprays. I chose to use Prize Ribbon, Speckled Egg and Mermaid Lagoon for this, as I think that they will match the focal point that I'm putting on this project. So I just spray the different colours on and then I go dabbing my curtain lace back into it just to get some of the different colours on each piece in different areas. I don't mind if there's little bits of white here and there as well. Now I didn't add water because I thought I wanted it quite strong to colour up the fabric there. But due to that, I have a lot of residual oxide ink on my mat. So I grab my water and spray it with a bit of water, then use some of my scrap paper just to soak up the rest of the colour. And I end up with 4 pages that look really good. So now I'm just putting some of my matte medium into the palette that I have on my silicone mat there. And you'll see the background is actually a book cover, just one side of the book cover. And I have these rectangles that came from the Bits and Pieces Set 9 kit from Whichcraft Do You Do. And I've cut them out and I'm just using my matte medium to stick them down to my book cover. So I'm putting the matte medium on the underside of my paper and I'm also putting it on the book cover there. That will ensure hopefully that there's no sort of air bubbles in between so that when I add any other wet layers, it won't bubble up. I go over the top again with matte medium just to seal it nicely. So I'm just collaging a few bits down. And I do that basically on all 4 corners of the book cover. So I choose the different hues of blue rectangles there. Of course you can get all the colours of the rainbow from that kit, but I decided just to go with the blues for this project. So now I'm adding some to that bottom corner there. So once I've put the last piece down that I want to put down, I go back over the whole lot with my matte medium. So now I've got my gesso. I let my matte medium dry properly, and then I've got my gesso that I'm putting into my palette there. And I'm using a dry paintbrush to I sort of crosshatch, if you call it that, crosshatch paint it lightly over the top. And I cover the whole piece with this just to dullen down the background there. And it also adds that nice coat with some texture for my sprays to adhere to afterwards. It was a fun project, but it did take me about 3 days to cut out the butterflies that I'm going to be using, and I think I did this over, was it 2 or 3 days as well, because I'd let some of the bits dry overnight. So let the gesso dry, and now I've got my Distress Oxide inks again, the same colours that I mentioned before. I'm starting with the lighter colour, which is the Speckled Egg. And I'm just spraying on and then adding some water to make it run. Then I just dab some of the wetter, thicker bits off here and there. I haven't done this before, so it ends up looking like a bit of a mess, but I got colour on, which was the aim, and I learnt as I went. Now, I didn't, I started spraying and I thought, oh, my hands, and then I thought, no, I'm spraying it on, my hands won't get dirty. But because I used a wet wipe to dab it up and the wet wipe got lots of ink on it, I ended up with blue fingers for the evening. So you can see there I'm just dabbing it back a bit. So lots of fun to play around with, and I've just bought a whole lot of oxides, so it was great to have different hues of the blue colours and that to choose from. I was shaking my ink there and it just spilt everywhere, so I just ran with it. Now I get to spray it. It's funny how all the spray bottles work differently too. Some will be a real fine spray and others will just be massive drops. So you never know what you're going to get, in other words. I let it run in those droplets and that, but I didn't really like the way that looked. I did go back in after this first coat dried and just added a little bit more here and there to make it look a bit better. I thought I was filming that second lot too, but apparently I wasn't. But don't worry, you didn't miss much, just more of the same, making a mess. So it was good that I used the matte medium and then the gesso on that, because I did end up putting a lot of water on this and that stopped the water wetting the paper underneath too much. So that's it all dry after I did a second lot of spraying. Now I'm bringing in some stencils and I'm using my Distress inks to add some colour. So I've got a greyish Distress ink. A grey-blue one. I don't think it was Speckled Egg though. Might have been Hickory Smoke. I used a few different colours for this. think I used chipped sapphire for some, hickory smoke for some, and then a blue one for these bubbles. And I'm just doing some little partial stencil bits here and there. It's amazing how much that helps the picture come together a bit more, covers up some of the mess that I made with the sprays. Always want to give up when something doesn't turn out the way that it should, but yeah, because you're layering things up, it helps it all come together. So next I had in my imagination a big clock to put in the middle. So I looked everywhere because I thought I had a big clock stencil. Looked and looked, and then I stumbled across these ones. Now they're quite thin and flimsy because initially I wanted to do texture paste. But I found these, and they're sort of negative style stencils. So I realised the texture paste probably wouldn't work too well. So I'm just using my black soot distress ink over the top of them to get the clock image up there. It came out a bit darker than I expected, so but it turned out really good in the end, I thought, considering it wasn't what I imagined. And I decided to do two of them because I do want a bit of clock to show through the bottom and up the top of the picture when I've finished. Next, I have the documented stamp set from Whichcraft Do You Do, and I want to do a little bit of stamping with that. And for this, I'm using my StazOn inks. I'm using a black one and a light greyish one. I'm just adding some of the numbers and the signatures and that come in the set. There's a formula that I see most people do with their mixed medias, and I'm sort of following along with that Planet Safe this time. Thought it might work for a change. Which is usually, you know, putting all your base stuff down in your base colour, then doing your stenciling, then doing your stamping. So I have some more of the rectangles from the Bits and Pieces kit here, and I am putting quite a heavy lot of black soot around the edges, and then I am putting some matte medium over the top. Leave that to dry, and then I have cut up the lace that we coloured at the start, and I'm just applying some little bits of that to the picture with the matte medium again. Now I was trying to be careful because I'm aware that I did do stenciling with my distress inks, and of course they're water activated. So initially it's not causing much of a problem. Just going light and it's not bothering me much, but when I hit the clocks with that dark black, the ink starts coming up with the matte medium. I probably should have sprayed it with my matte sealer that you can go over the top with, and that would have helped. But you can see here that it's lifting the ink off, makes a bit of a mess. I was worried for a minute, and then I thought, no, the focal points that I'm putting on will help cover that over. So I could have used my stays on ink or something, but I like the look of the distress ink for those clocks. So I'm placing the lace in areas where I'm hoping it will poke out from the focal points that I put on. I was going to add some more lace afterwards, but I thought no, because I might rip up some of the hard work that I've done with it and mess it up. So I've got the rectangles that I put the matte medium on top, and I'm gluing them onto some blue cardstock. And then I just fussy cut them out. That makes them all ready to put onto a book cover. So I'm just figuring out placement for these, and then I am gluing them onto the canvas, just doing little collages with them. And I'm doing a bit of layering here. And for that I decided to use my foam tape, just to give it a bit of height. I end up putting glue on both sides of the foam tape for this because I don't trust like the tape that's on this or double-sided tape much, so I do like to add a bit of glue. Also, I like to add the glue because it gives you a little bit more wiggle room if you need to make minor adjustments. So I use the tacky glue to adhere it to the paper, and then I use my 450 or fabric glue to stick the double-sided tape down to my book board. So I'm trying to work out how I'm going to place my foam tape here to give it the height that I want, because I want this one to be twice the height of the previous one. But a part of it will sit on top of the previous one, so I only want one layer of foam tape where it sits on top of the previous rectangle. And then on the pieces that overhang, I want 2 pieces of the foam tape. Just helps hold it secure, and if it gets pressed on, it's not going to sort of crease and fold down then. So here I'm doubling up the tape, and again I'm using glue to help stick the pieces together. So I'm putting these shorter bits on to double it up, and those bits will sit behind the previous piece that we put on. Just make sure it fits snugly. Press it all down. So that's all of those rectangles put on now. So I cut out all those butterflies ready to go. They're going to be the focal point, and I'm going to start arranging them. As you can see, I've made a start there of putting them on using the foam tape again. Okay, so I think I have finished now. So I did the couple of photos of some of my process of putting the layers on, but it was quite warm in the craft room, so I sat out in the lounge watching TV and doing it because it did take quite a while. So I thought I would just come and show you the finished product. I did then do just a couple more stamps in some of the blanker areas and a tad more stenciling as well, just to fill it in a little bit more. So that was fun. That was a real process, but a really fun one. And as usual, I learnt heaps. I'm, you know, on a mission to get comfortable doing mixed media and using all this stuff, but it's going to take me a long time, but I think I'm improving slowly. So yeah, but great way to use the book covers. I really love that. Just good to recycle rather than going out and buying a canvas or whatever, and it seemed to work quite well. So now the kits that I have used were the Bits and Pieces set 9, and that had these square, well, rectangles to be specific, that I used for some layering. It also had the butterflies that were your blue and white ones that I've got in between the others, and then I used the butterfly collection set 4 for the majority of the butterflies here. I wanted a nice mix of your different sort of blue shades of butterflies and different sizes as well. So that worked out so cool. Now I must tell you that this was heavily inspired by Anne, aka the Motherlode at Whichcraft Do You Do. Her video on making layered embellishments is what inspired this. I was watching her. I love what she made and I want to make some just like she did as well. But while I was watching her, I just got this idea and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and that's why I had to give it a go. So thanks for the inspiration, Anne. Also, I need to tell you that the lovely ladies at Whichcraft Do You Do, for this year until June, I can offer you 25% off of any digital product in their shop. So that's wonderful. That's just such an awesome discount. And the code for that is NAT2024. So it's for 25% off, but only the digital product. So that is just very lovely and generous of them to do that for you guys. So make sure you use that code if you're interested in any of their digitals. Okay, so what else do I need to tell you? I did matte medium over the rectangles that I stuck down, as you saw. That gave it a really nice coating for me to be able to add the wetness and that without it all bubbling and peeling off, and that worked well. And then I did do the gesso as well, just so things stuck to it a bit better before I did my spraying and that. I also did matte medium over the top of the butterflies, like I did with these rectangles as well. And that just made them nice, and you can feel that they're sort of firmer, and it gave them a nice coating. And I noticed that even when a bit of glue went on there, with the glue I was using, sometimes if I get that on the digitals and I try and rub it off, it takes the print off. But because I had the matte medium on there, I was able to rub it off a bit easier. So that worked out so well. And it's just going to protect them a lot more, and it'll be easier to dust and that. What I will be doing is taking this out into my carport in a minute and giving it a couple of coats of my Helma matte sealer. It's a spray sealant, and that will protect it even further. And, you know, keep the colours nice, and again, make it a bit easier to dust and that. So I'll do that before I hang it up, and then I'll either punch some holes in it, but I don't think I will. I think what I'll do to hang this one is I might try the command strips that have the Velcro. That's if I can get them sticking to the material on the back of the cover. I could probably use glue to stick them on. And then, yeah, I'll use the Velcro strips, and then I can just hang it on the wall like that and move it when I want to. I think that would be the best way of doing it. I was thinking about doing some sort of border, but I can't decide what I want to do. So I think I'm just going to leave it. I don't mind the look of the book cover around the outside. I think it's neat for people to be able to see that it is a book cover. It's a tad warped, but I think when I hang it, that'll sort itself out. Yeah, but loved it. And you might have seen also I did the stenciling of the clock faces, and then when I stuck some of my curtain down, the matte medium made my distress ink. It rubbed it off and made a bit of a mess of it. You can sort of see it there a bit, but I don't see that much because I have covered a bit of it over with the butterflies, so you don't notice it as much. So, yeah, it's all a learning curve. I knew that might happen, so probably should have put some of my spray matte sealer on that and then given it a go, and it might not have rubbed off like that, so I'll have to experiment some more. There's so much to think of, I tell you. I'm still getting used to what mediums to use on what and what might come off and all of that. But in the end, I think it was a success. I do really love it, and it was heaps of fun to make. The butterflies I cut out over about a 3-day period. You don't want to do all of them at once. Yeah, you'll end up with RSI. So that did take some time. And I did back them all onto cardstock as well. And so they're nice and sturdy. And then I used, as you saw, the foam tape and foam squares to raise some bits. A few of them I stuck down and just left the wings. Where's one there? So I haven't put any foam under that, but that's okay. It can just move as it wants to. In the future, if it bothers me, I can stick a foam square underneath. I also added glue to both sides of my foam squares because I just don't necessarily trust them to last long, the stickiness. So just to be sure it holds together nicely, I did take a few extra steps with that sort of thing. So that was heaps of fun. Massive thank you to the ladies at Whichcraft Do You Do. Hope I didn't massacre your kids too much. Thanks again, Anne, for the inspiration. And I will see you again soon. Be good. Bye.